everybody. Today's show is going to be all about things that you can do to get ready to sell your home. I made a quick little list. Hopefully none of these are too overwhelming for you. I know that selling can be a little stressful, so I made this list so that it could take a little bit of that stress off of you. I know that having a game plan from the beginning really helps my clients, and they often thank me afterwards. So I figured that this would be a great way to get started. I know that we are heading into the winter months, but there's many benefits to sell during the winter, and I can do a whole nother show about that pretty soon. So anyway, let's get to this list. First, I want to mention, oftentimes when I meet with my clients, we discuss the decision of selling, and we list out reasons that they may have when they're thinking about selling. And really, it's mostly because I want them to feel confident in the home sale process. I don't want them to have any regret on the decision, because once those offers come in, I want you to feel excited and happy about it. So, or, if you list out these reasons and, you look at them and you go, you know what? I want to sell, but maybe right now isn't the time for me, whether it's certain reasons that you may rethink. So I like to do that first and foremost. The second thing I think anybody's going to say, and most of you that I work with already know this, although I don't necessarily follow this rule myself too often, is to declutter. So kind of go around your home as best as you can and start the removal process. I like to tell people, use the quarter rule. You want to make sure that there's at least a quarter space in wherever closet or linen closet that you may have that a buyer is looking into, so that it gives the illusion of more space. No one really wants to open up a cabinet with things falling out when they're getting ready to see a home. So those are the things that you should definitely start doing, sort of depersonalizing. I know it's a little difficult to start thinking about taking down photos, family heirlooms, but really those are the things that really distract a lot of buyers, and they really find themselves disconnecting with the home. And the whole idea of getting the best price is for the buyer to feel excited and feel and envision themselves in your home. So you definitely want to go around doing that. And while you're at that, as crazy as this may sound, you should start packing. You should really, get those heirlooms aside. If you must rent, I try not to, unless it's absolutely necessary, I try not to have my clients put their things in storage unless it's just an overflow of clutter. And there are situations where that is definitely needed, but you don't necessarily have to. And a lot of times buyers don't mind seeing boxes, or a lot of times we'll do totes, those plastic totes in the corner of a room. That stuff buyers can overlook, and they understand, and they understand that you're moving. So things like that shouldn't be sort of, don't worry about that, is what I'm trying to say. So the next step would be to check for improvements, see if there's anything you can do around the house. One thing that buyers mostly focus on, and an inspector will, are the systems of the house. So I always try to tell my clients, find out when was the last time you serviced your boiler. Is it a gas boiler? Is it an oil burner? A lot of times people have that idea of, well, it's a gas burner. We don't necessarily have to worry about it. We don't have to clean it yearly. But you know what? When you're getting ready to sell, it really shows good faith that you've taken the time to hire someone to check out the systems and make sure that everything is in working order. And it's a good time to test them yourselves. I can't tell you how many times things are uncovered during an inspection and the seller had no idea. And, you're losing, basically money when you don't have an efficiency in your system. So it's a good idea to go around and check those out, whether it's faulty outlets, things like that you can do to improve your home and have it pass inspections. That's the ultimate goal as well. The next thing I always say is doing a good interior deep cleaning. And you can do this a couple weeks before you officially go on the market. I wouldn't try to do it too much beyond that. But a deep cleaning would be something like deep clean your oven, deep clean your fridge, get those nooks and crannies sparkling. A lot of fingerprints I see on switch plates. Things like that really they're unappealing to a buyer, and you really want to make sure that your house is gleaming. The ultimate goal is really to get as many buyers interested in your home as possible, get as many offers on your home as possible. So you want to do these things in order to reach that goal. Of course, it only takes one buyer to buy your home, but the idea is to get as many as possible. So basically you can basically agree to the best terms. So the next thing I always say is to gather warranties and paperwork. One thing, and I think I'm going to do a whole nother show about this, is one thing that's coming up a lot lately, and basically because they're so new, and I'm finding that a lot of even brokers, experienced brokers, they really don't understand them, is the solar panels. And solar panels are those great feature that you see driving, I'm sure in town, you've seen them all over the place. I think there was a sort of credit that they were giving in Massachusetts for solar panels. Anyway, gather the information on those so that you can convey that message to the buyer and give that information fully to the next buyer looking at your home. And this is well before the offer time. You want to have as much information available so that the buyers can make an educated offer, and there's nothing that will prevent them from proceeding once an offer is accepted. So anything that has to do with warranties, information, you might have, newer appliances. Maybe you bought them 5 years ago, but maybe you have some information. Sometimes I see sellers that have a whole binder with things. I'm not one of those people. I would love to be one of those people, but I know it's hard. But if you can sort of gather up information like that, it'd be very wonderful so that the buyer feels very comfortable and they get to know your house that way. And it's great to share. So any kind of warranties, any kind of information, I don't know, maybe you had some work done over the year that you can share that info. It's just a good idea to have that ready, so that when you're going on the market, you can upload all those documents and buyers have that information. The last thing, well, two more things. Speaking of sprucing up, one of the things that I'm finding a lot lately is that, so by law in Massachusetts, you must go through, the sellers pay and go through what is called a fire inspection. And the local fire department comes out they test your alarms, make sure they're under what's called compliance. So I'm finding that a lot of people don't necessarily, and I think I'm going to do a whole nother show about this too, because there's so many details. I think that people, it's a little hard to understand. You want to make sure that all the smoke detectors are newer. You can't have a carbon detector that's older than 7 years. It has to be less. A newer carbon monoxide alarm, newer photoelectric alarm, and we can get into that, what that is in another show, and if they're placed accordingly, because that is another step for once you do sell your property. Before you can actually go to the closing, you need to have that certificate with you in order to transfer ownership to the next buyer. So, and the problem, I think, just quickly going into it, I think the problem is, and this is what I have recently uncovered with the fire chief in town, he basically said that what happens is that most people go to a big box store to purchase fire alarms, and the big box stores carry fire alarms that are nationwide, but they're not necessarily compliant with Massachusetts laws. Every state has its own fire laws. So you pick up a fire alarm, you think it's, the right one, it could be even a pricey one, and you grab it and you think, well, the most expensive one should pass, and it ends up being the wrong alarm. So it's definitely something that you should do to, you can meet with me and we can discuss exactly what's needed so that it's just, you can be one step ahead when selling. So the very last thing is landscaping. And I know a lot of you are probably sick of this term already, sprucing it up. You want to have that buyer really want to have that desire to come into the home. It's very important. One of the things that I think is an issue in New England, especially during the winter months, is how to get sort of curb appeal during the cold, winter, dreary months. But things can be done to add, all you need really is a well-kept lawn. All the leaves you should try your best to get them picked up as best as possible. And you can add some pops of color. I've seen listings where they add, a flag out front with maybe some mums, or just anything that you can do to add just a pop of color, even during the winter. It really, really helps get that buyer excited. You want to make sure that your mailbox is nicely hung and painted and shiny. Your front door looks inviting. Things like that I feel are really, really important before you actually get yourself on the market. So I really hope that you can take this information, whether you're selling now or in a few months from now, it will help prepare you for that very important step of selling. Be sure to check me out at my website, at irvingpropertygroup.com. You can always send me there. You can send me a message. You can go on my Facebook page. I'm Swampscott Marblehead Real Estate. Or you can give me a call. You can text me at any time. I'll leave my information for you on this link below, and you can contact me with any further questions. Thanks so much and good luck.